I spent only $150 on this diesel heater. Will it even work? And can it heat our DIY shop, which is just a shipping container and has absolutely zero insulation? Luckily, I'm very familiar with diesel heaters. That's because for the 5 years we lived off grid in our van, it kept us warm and toasty inside, even at -40. And for 3 of those years, a diesel heater kept our off-grid washroom super cozy. Both of those heaters ran 24/7 from November to April. So you could say after those 5 years, we've some experience. But will this work for this application? Will it even last at $150? And should you get one for your shed or garage? Let's find out. Air heaters like these actually come in diesel or gas. I personally prefer diesel because you get more bang for your buck in the fuel. Plus our other 2 air heaters are diesel, so we're gonna keep it to the same fuel. I also chose to go with an all-in-one unit for this application. Basically everything is together in a little carrying case, and it kind of keeps it more simple. I also plan on using this as a backup heater in other applications like the chicken coop, maybe the off-grid washroom if that one's down, or even the tiny home in worst case scenario. So the fact that it's mobile is a plus. For the shop here, I decided to go with a Chinese 8 kilowatt model. But the van, for instance, has a 5 kilowatt German Eberspaecher model. There's a price difference of over $1,400 between the German and the Chinese one. And later I'm gonna share which one is actually better and how they compare. I'll also share with you maintenance and how often you have to do it, because you do have to do it. And I'll also show you how these work just on a base level. But first, let's install this in our non-insulated shop. In the wintertime, I usually only have this door open when I'm working in here, and I'll close it behind me. I don't want to put the diesel heater here because the draft will take away a lot of that heat. So I was thinking I'll put it more to the center of the shop. I made some room here, and because the diesel heater is fairly low profile, I'll place it here, and that way you can circulate air in the room. And you may be thinking, what about the exhaust? That's dangerous. You'll be suffocated in here. Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm gonna make sure to put the exhaust outside. I'm thinking I'll place it right about here, and that way it takes up the least amount of space. That also leaves room below for the exhaust to come out and then out right here. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I have some brackets that I can use to hold it up. So I'll screw these in here. And then I'll make a platform with this with a big hole cut out. That way, when it's sitting on this piece of wood, if I have a big hole cut out, the exhaust and the intake can run out of it. The wood will be far enough away, it won't be a hazard or anything. So now I have a platform like that that'll screw in. This can go on top like that and be nice and stable with access. It looks like it should work really well. It's stable, and you can see just for proof of concept, I've got the exhaust running through here. It's got lots of room. So now I have to drill a hole through the side. What do you think? Did it work? It worked, eh? It worked. That actually worked better than I thought it would. I left some space on it so it's not actually fully touching metal. I gotta put it up. That is perfect right there. That couldn't be better. So on these air heaters, obviously you have exhaust, but you also have intake. So on the bottom of the unit, as you saw before, there's the 2 holes. So this is the exhaust hole. That's because on the front of the heater is the heat sink, where it's taking all the heat and blowing it out. So where the air comes in through here, it's also coming in through here to combust. So the air is going in, it's coming up into the chamber, it's mixing with diesel, it's getting hot, it's creating a little flame, it's making the whole thing warm, and then it's exhausting back out of here. And luckily, this kit comes with an exhaust sock, so I can actually put an extra layer of protection on the exhaust pipe, because although these do get really hot, we've never had an issue with them, but it's possible. So I'm also gonna have the exhaust sock on there. So if anything gets in contact here, it keeps it from heating up and combusting. On the outside, I've got the exhaust coming down to the muffler that it comes with, and I've got it pointing down. It just helps with rain and rusting. And later I'll put some high temp silicone around here to seal that up, and I'll put a small cover as well. And it would be ideal to have the intake coming from the cold air outside, but I'm not looking for efficiency here. The shop's not even insulated. Let's move on to power. And you may be thinking, power? I thought it ran off of diesel. Well, yes, it does run off of diesel, but it needs electricity to blow the fans, to operate the controls, and to actually heat up the diesel to combust. Almost all air heaters run off of 12 volt or 24 volt power. You can buy these with a wall plug adapter so that I can go use 120 volt. But in this case, because I've wired up our shipping container shop with 12 volt, it's a lot easier. If you don't have 12 volt available, you can get inverters that go from 120 volt sockets to 12 volt power. Just make sure you get a pure sine wave inverter, or else you'll have issues with running your diesel heater. 99% of the time, 99%, that's funny, we run our shop off of this battery bank. It's 12 volt and it supplies the lights and other things we need. And I've got this old car jack. It's like one of those plug-in jacks that I cut from another project. So I'm gonna splice that for the diesel heater and see if I can use this as the power supply. I definitely just made a total oversight on my part. The thing I want to do with using this as the power supply, these are rated for like 12 volt, 1 amp. That's nothing at all. That's like 12 watts. These take a lot of wattage to heat up the glow plug to get going. So supplying it off of this little unit might not work. This might draw too much power and overload the unit. But you know what? Let's just give it a shot. So let's add some diesel to this bad boy. I only put in a little bit of juice, if you can see it there, to start. That way we can just test it out. Let's plug it in. And okay, sweet, she's got power. It's reading 12 volt. It's a good 12 volt. It's the right amount of power we need. You don't want any more than 12 volts. Okay, let's give this a shot. It might take a minute to get the pump to prime, but let's start it. Oh God, it's got a voice on it. Why do all the Chinese stuff have voice on it? Weird voices. Let's see. Okay, so it's starting to pull power. Yeah, it's pulling a lot more than 1 amp. So far we're at 90 watts, okay? So, yeah, this is already knowing that it's heating up. What happens is it puts a bunch of power to a glow plug. The glow plug heats up really hot, and as the diesel comes in, when the diesel warms up and then gets fed with air, it ignites. If you listen closely, there's the pump. It's pumping diesel into the chamber. Once it gets the diesel far enough down to the chamber, it'll ignite, and you'll hear it right away. It'll be like, so I feel the air coming through, but there's no smoke yet. The fuel definitely hasn't got to the chamber yet. Like I said, it'll take a minute that first time you turn this on to get fuel down the line and into the chamber. We're at 3 minutes so far of it trying. I gotta admit, I'm really impressed with this crappy little unit pumping out that much wattage through here. The wires aren't even hot. I was expecting them to be hot because these are a smaller gauge wire, but it's totally fine. So it tried for 4 minutes to prime itself for the first time there. It didn't ignite, so I shut it off, and I'm gonna restart the process once it cools down. This is just one of those things, the first time you start it up. Oh God, it has those terrible voices. Anyways, you want the fuel to get in, so I'm gonna restart it in a minute. I bet you it'll fire up this time. All right, here's attempt number 2. The pump just started, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of smoke here. Oh, there we go, it fired up. If you listen to this. So it'll be a little bit smoky when it first fires up, just because it's trying to get that diesel nice and hot, and it's not burning all the diesel just yet, but that'll go away and it'll be completely clear after a little while. So that was only 2 attempts, and it only took 2 minutes. It's already nice and warm. Oh, it's really nice right now. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with both this thing firing up that soon and this little crappy Chinese battery bank working. You can see that now once the glow plug is warm, it's only taking 24 watts. So it's that initial startup that takes a ton of power. After that, this will be totally fine, but I can't believe it did the startup twice. It's gonna smell like plastic and crap for a little while, so it's worth running it and getting all those smells out. You can probably see that the sock is smoking a little bit. It's burning off those chemicals from the factory. I'm sure all of this is perfectly healthy to breathe in right now. But yeah, I'm actually really impressed, and it's really freaking hot right now, even after just 4 minutes. I'm gonna stay outside and not breathe that crap in for a little bit. But you can see that the smoke on the exhaust has completely gone away. Ooh, that's super hot. And obviously it's still smoking on the sock. The nice thing is you can direct the heat however you want. You can split it into a couple units, duct it around. In my case, I'm just gonna leave it like this where I can swivel and point it where I want. So when I'm working in the shop here in the winter, I can have it blowing on me and keeping me warm. What's nice is on all these different types of models, you can change what you want. So right now it's on a power level. So it goes up to, I believe, 7 being hottest and fastest blowing, or 1 being idle and slow. But if I hold the power button, then I can set it to a temperature mode. That way I can set the temperature in here. If I want it at 25, it'll blow hot and for quite a while until it gets to 25, then it will go down to idle once it reaches its temperature. I'll talk about maintenance in a minute, but I want to talk about the difference between a $150 Chinese diesel heater and a $1,400 Eberspaecher model that we have in the van. The difference between them is not very large. The van's German model is just a glorified version of the Chinese model. They work the exact same. In fact, I would say that the Chinese ones work a little bit better. We have a Chinese 8 kilowatt model in the washroom, and it ran for 3 different winters. We haven't needed it since then, but it ran for 3 different winters, all winter long, and it ran super well. Hardly ever had any problems. With the German model, like I'm sure you can guess with German cars, I had a few other problems. Every once in a while, we would have an issue with either power or a diesel blockage, and we had a lot of problems with that. We now know what to do when those things happen, but with the Chinese model, I almost never had a problem. And considering that this 8 kilowatt version is almost the exact same as the one I have in the washroom, much cheaper, I would say they're almost better. Let's do a quick heating test. It's still pretty warm. It's 21 degrees right now, but it's not gonna be cold for the next couple of nights. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna turn this on. That voice is so dumb. And we're gonna see how long it takes to get to 25 degrees in here. Let's set that to 25. There we go, set to 25. We'll test how long it takes to get to 25 degrees. I'm gonna shut these doors. We'll see what happens. Well, 10 minutes later, and I can hear the exhaust is slowed down to idle. And yep, 25 degrees at idle, and 24.9 degrees with the probe a little bit lower here. So that only took 10 minutes. I know it's not cold out or anything like that with a big temperature difference, but 4 degrees in 10 minutes, it's pretty good. I'll do a really harsh cold weather test coming up once it's cold, so make sure you subscribe for that. I did mention that there's maintenance involved with diesel heaters. It's very simple. It involves a glow plug screen, a glow plug, as well as gaskets depending on your model. It's important to do because these things gum up or they get built up with carbon and it causes them to malfunction and not even turn on. So we do ours at least once a year. The van gets done once a year, the washroom, if we're using it, gets done once a year, and obviously this one now. It's important to do to keep on top of it. It's very simple to do. I have videos on how I've done that in the past. So it's one thing to keep in mind, and they're not very expensive. The rebuild kit costs, I think, around $35 on Amazon. It's really not that much. I have to tell you, I was a little bit apprehensive about buying this one for the shop, but I thought at 150 bucks, you can't go wrong. We'll see how long it lasts. But if it's anything like our Chinese diesel heater in the washroom, that was only 250 bucks, I'm sure it'll last quite a long time. The one in the washroom is over 4 years old now and works absolutely no problem. I do love the portable unit. I would recommend getting something portable. It's much easier to install. You don't have to have a tank. You don't have to route things. That being said, you get a limited amount of fuel space. I might as well mention that diesel heaters do sip fuel. They don't use a ton, but some of you might be surprised. For instance, we heated our washroom for, like I said, November to April, and that cost us, at the height of COVID, about $600 Canadian. That's because diesel was very expensive at that time. And a jerry can of 20 liters of diesel, like this, that's what we ran our diesel heater off. This would last us 2.5 weeks in the winter at like -30, -40. So that's fairly decent. But if you're looking to heat your shop or your off-grid washroom, whatever it is, for a really efficient way, I don't think a diesel heater is your option. That's just because we were off-grid at the time. We didn't have power options. If you have power, lots and lots of power, like you're tied to the grid, an electric heater will cost you far less than running a diesel heater. So that's worth noting as well. But bang for buck, I'm really impressed with this. I'll use it when I come into the shop in the winter time, and you know, when it's like really cold out and it's hard to fiddle with your fingers when you're doing a project, this is going to come in handy. I'm not going to run this all the time in here. There's be no need for that whatsoever. This is just to get me through being super cold on the days I need to be working on something in here, and using it as a backup, like I said, if I need to. I was thinking about heating our chicken coop with it. Maybe getting another one. It's only 150 bucks. And using it in the chicken coop and keeping the chickens warm. But like I said, compared to an electric heater, say an electric heat lamp, it's far cheaper to go that route. So let me know in the comments what I should do with the diesel heater. Is there another project I haven't thought of that you guys have thought of? Let me know what you think about these, if you've used them before. I'm happy to see your opinions and your comments. And also ask me any questions that you have in the comments below, because these things are pretty new to people, but people are fascinated, by diesel heaters, and I don't blame them. This is our 4th diesel heater. They're just kind of a lot of fun. If you haven't yet liked, make sure you do so, and subscribe as well. Hopefully I earned your subscription today. We're always doing some cool stuff here on the Homestead. So I'll see you on the next video.